Hi, my name's Chuck Black. Welcome to this section on Python and data storage. So you may get to the point, you will get to the point where your application has matured to the extent that you want to start to use real live data storage mechanisms. So instead of just using a temporary text file, you want to use real live either structured text files, or maybe you want to use binary files, or maybe you want to use a database. And so this section, we're going to talk about how you can do that and how Python makes that easy. So here's an overview of different types of storage that are available to you in Python. There, of course, is the general text file, which is very easy to use. It's human readable. You're persisting something in a simple manner that is very easy to use, but typically it's used for testing, and it's just a temporary solution that you'll want to use. Maybe you're using a file that somebody else created, or maybe you're just creating something for testing purposes. Now, they are easy to iterate, which is a good thing, but that's true of other types of text files as well. Eventually, you'll move to structured text, and a structured text file is just a text file that is stored in a different manner that follows certain procedures and formatting rules. So some of these that are available that many people use these days, JSON would be one, CSV, which stands for comma separated value, would be another, XML files of some type, there's YAML files. There's a number of different formats. We're going to look at a couple of those. The nice thing about these type of structured text files is that they are both machine readable in a structured format, but also human readable. So that's why things like JSON have been so popular. One of the nice things about Python, we've mentioned before how Python has many external libraries to help you with many different functions that you want to do, and there are libraries available to you in Python that allow you to easily read and write CSV, JSON, and other types of files. So this is very nice. Converting from a file directly into a Python data structure, whether it's a list or a dictionary or a list of lists or a dictionary of lists or whatever, that's very easy with the libraries that you get. So some data is actually binary. So binary stuff would be something like a key for getting SSH access, maybe some type of image of the latest version of the software. These are examples of binary files that you may have to deal with. And with Python, it's very easy to deal with these binary files. And lastly, databases. There's many types of databases out there. There are SQL databases as well as NoSQL databases. The SQL databases, which is what we're going to look at in this course, are very simple and easy to use. And if you're familiar with databases and understand the value of them, then you might want to make use of them. So looking really closely at the first couple types of file, a text file has no structure to it whatsoever, but a structured text file does. And you can use these libraries such as a JSON library, XML library, and the CSV library that are available to you for automatically taking data from a file and importing it directly into Python data structures. You don't have to create these data structures yourself. These library functions that you import will do it for you. What about binary files? Well, the nice thing about binary files is all you really need to do is when you specify how you're going to read this file or write this file, you specify this B that I've underlined there that tells Python that it's a binary file and that that's what you will be using. What about databases? Well, we're going to talk about databases in this section, but why would you want to use a database? There are arguments for and against databases for a number of reasons. Some of the reasons that you would want to consider using a database would be if you have a huge volume of data and it would exceed the capacity of text files on your particular operating system, then you might want to think about using a database. If your data is easily formatted or constructed into tables that have relationships, such as is common with a relational database, then you might want to store things in a relational database such as SQL rather than trying to store them in multiple text files. If you need to search for particular pieces of data, or you're going to run requests where you're filtering out certain types of data, databases are very good at getting you instantaneous access to data that you happen to be looking for. So these are the reasons for doing databases. You might want to consider them. understand that it may be a step further than you want to take, so just consider it wisely when you get to the point in the maturity of your application where you're trying to decide what type of storage do you want to use. So let's take a look at a demonstration of some of these data storage examples for storing your networking data, whatever data that might be, in some type of more advanced storage capability. Okay, so here we are in a demonstration of using Python with other types of data storage. In our example, we're going to use structured text file, which will be in JSON format. And so for our example, we're going to be using this JSON file. You can see that it's a JSON array. If you're familiar with JSON, that's what the square brackets indicate. And within the array, there will be items, each of which is a JSON object. That's what the curly brackets mean. It's analogous to a Python dictionary. And so we're going to be reading this in and using the JSON library to automatically create the JSON data structures out of the JSON file. So here is our read devices info function that we're going to call. Notice that we're using the JSON library. So all we need to do in order to go from JSON data into Python objects is open the file and read it all. We're going to read the entire thing. We're not going line by line. We're reading the entire thing into JSON device data. And then in order to take that JSON data and convert it to Python data structures, this one line is all you need. You call json.loads. It will take JSON data here, and over here it will create Python data structures. And our data structures will be a list of dictionary items, and this is our device info. Now we're going to take that device info list, and from that we're going to create our network device objects. Because remember, when we're doing real stuff on the network, we're liking to use network device objects to simplify our life. So we create iOS and XR devices, and we create this list. This is what the utility function of reading does. Printing just prints stuff out. At a later point in time, we're going to actually write the data out. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get our data, which is, remember, a list of device objects. We need to convert that into something that the JSON library can understand. So we're going to create a list of device info dictionary items. So here's our device info dictionary item. We're appending it to devices out list, and we will print that out. And then in order to convert that to JSON, all we have to do is run this particular JSON function, dump s, and it will convert this list of dictionary items into JSON data. And then to write it out, we're not writing it out line by line. We're writing all of it at once. So the entire JSON data is going to get written out. So let's take a look at what this looks like when we actually run the program. So now we're connecting to the devices. So we've connected to the devices, and we have converted the information into the JSON data that we will be printing out here. This is the JSON output. And if we look, we will see that there should be a file here that we've created called JSON devices out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out JSON devices out. You can see it's not printed super nicely, but this is what our file actually ends up looking like. So you can see that this is the data that has been created by our JSON library. At a later point in time in this section, you will actually read from something that you have written out as one of your labs. So hopefully this gives you an overview of how simple it is to convert data from JSON into Python objects and vice versa to write those out. And this will help you as you create structured text files and you use them in your network programmability applications. Thanks for listening to this section on data storage and more advanced ways of storing your data in structured text files, binary, or databases. Hopefully this has been useful to you and you'll be able to use it as you contemplate and as you build your network application programs.